What's up, fight fans, and welcome back to another Contender Series breakdown here on the Vegas Odds YouTube channel. I'm your host, the fight analyst, Garrett Kerman. Unfortunately, this week, our guy, Jesse Hostin, is not able to make it. He's a little under the weather. We hope for the best for him. We hope he gets better soon, but he definitely will be back with us next week for some more Contender Series breakdowns. We love to chat it up with you guys. We love to give you both sides of the spectrum here, see what we see, and break it down for you. But I'm doing it solo this time. It's just me and only me, and I'm here to help you guys win some money again. Contender Series. Unfortunately, we were not here last week. We was definitely able to, make some money, but I'm here. I'm back. I'm ready to go. Week 8 on tap. We only got 3 weeks left, so let's make the most of it and let's get right down to the nitty gritty. Right now, the lines are pretty close for the most part, except for two. The featured bout on this fight card is great between Farid Basharat and Alan Bagosa. That's gonna be a great fight. But other than that, I think we have great fights top to bottom and some great prospects done. Let's just get right down to it. Let's get right into it. Okay, so our first fight is going to be in the bantamweight division between Brandon Lewis and Daniel Marcos. Right now, the line is set at Lewis minus 150. The comeback on Marcos plus 130. First thing that stands out to me in this matchup, Marcos hasn't fought in almost 3 years. I'm not sure what the time off has been like. We really don't know. Is it because of injury? Is it because of other things that are going on in his life? Maybe he's just wanting to improve on some things before really coming back at it. But here he is. He's a 12-0 prospect. He's fought some decent competition, but over in Peru, not the greatest of competitors over there. I know some of these fighters have good records, but if you look and dig deeper, those fighters really haven't fought anybody either. So he's fighting guys that have good records on paper, but really have fought bad competition. So that's not great here because I think Brandon Lewis is probably his stiffest competition that he's faced thus far in his career. Brandon Lewis 6-1 as a pro. His only loss was to Contender Series alumni Mo Miller, who is a standout prospect. He's a standout wrestler. So, I mean, that's no hard feat there. He lost to a really tough competitor. He went the full 15 minutes. I like what I saw out of him. He's got some grit. He's got some good boxing skills. He's got some decent power, and he's super tough, super durable. And I feel like that goes a long way in this matchup against Marcos. Marcos, like I said, hasn't been battle tested in years. Really hasn't had to fight through adversity like Lewis has in his career. Ultimately, I think Lewis is just an all-around better fighter. I think he can mix things up better. I think he's a better wrestler, better grappler. And I do think he's tougher. I'm expecting him to come forward, put the pace, put the pressure on him, and get the job done and possibly get a contract. I think there's a reason why they're giving him a second shot because they like what they saw against Mo Miller, and they're kind of giving him a more favorable matchup here against Marcos, who's a decent kickboxer in his own right, but it's not somebody that I truly believe is really going to overwhelm Lewis here, and I think Lewis gets the job done here, and I think it's going to be a fun fight and one that Lewis probably gets a contract out of it. All right, next fight up, we have a fight in the women's strawweight division because it's not in the flyweight. So don't look at what Tapology is saying. This fight is in strawweight. They both weighed in at 100. I think Man weighed in 115 and a half pounds, and Bruno Brazil weighed in at 116 pounds. Right now, the line is set at minus 170 for Bruno Brazil. The comeback on Marnik Man is plus 145. So what stands out to me the most is this gaping size difference. 5'6" for Bruno Brazil and 5 foot for Man. That is massive, especially when it comes to the type of fighter that Brazil is. She's a very high level, striker, kickboxer. She has a kickboxing background. She does very well on the feet, hands down type of movement. Really feels herself. A lot of good kicks, spinning attacks. She knocked down her opponent twice in her last fight. She knocked out her opponent before that. She's She's got finishes on the feet. She's got finishes on the mat. I think she's very well versed. I know she doesn't have the greatest takedown defense. We've seen her get taken down in her last fight, but granted, that was a much bigger, much stronger jiu-jitsu practitioner than Man here. I mean, and she beat her. She was able to out scramble her, get back to her feet, and I think that was a better grappler than Man. Man is a grappler first and foremost. She's not good at striking. She doesn't move her head off the center line. She's got basically no head movement. She literally has absolutely nothing to offer Brazil on the feet. She would absolutely walk through here with no problems whatsoever in this fight, as long as it's on the feet. Man does have decent enough grappling to possibly get 1 or 2 takedowns, but we've seen in our last fight against super low level competition, she went to a split decision against a 1-on-1 fighter. That fighter was able to sometimes out scramble her, sometimes sweep her and get on top. She was able to defend some of the takedowns, and she was another fighter that was taller, and she definitely had some troubles getting into the mat, and I expect the same here, except Bruno is a much bigger threat on the feet than her last opponent. And Man was a minus 410 favorite in that matchup, and she won via split decision. That could have gone either way. I think this is just too big of a step up too soon, and Brazil is going to absolutely walk through her. I think minus 170 is a great line. I know it looks like people have been betting on Man bring this line down, and I know how what people love to do on the Contender Series is just fade the women MMA favorite. Well, guess what? The favorites are 4-1 on the Contender Series this year, and I expect it to be 5-1. The dogs have not been cashing. The only dog that cashed was arguably one of the best prospects on the entire season in the women's divisions. And I don't think Man is even remotely on the same spectrum as them. So I got Bruno Brazil getting the job done. I have her absolutely piecing Man up on the feet, possibly getting her out of there inside 2 rounds. All right, our next fight up is in the men's lightweight division between Malik Lewis and Trevor Peak. Right now, the odds are Lewis minus 195, the comeback on Peak plus 165. What stands out to me right off the bat, Peak has some insane power. He's 6-0. He's tough as nails. He's fought as high as welterweight, even a catch weight of 180 pounds. He is the shorter of the two between Lewis and Peak, but he makes up for it with his power. What faults him here is that he doesn't really make it past round 1. I mean, that's a blessing and a curse at the same time. He's got enough power to knock out his opponents early, but he also hasn't really seen too much of rounds 2 and 3 where Lewis has. I think Lewis is the more well-rounded fighter. I think he's more crisp with his striking. I do think he can mix it up much more than Peak can. And I think Peak is round 1 KO or bust. And at this point, if your book is allowing you to live bet this fight, I would kind of bet on Malik Lewis after round 1, because I think Peak should have his way in the early going, land some hard shots. But I think Lewis should be able to defend off and weather the early storm, and then just drown him late with grappling and just pressure and pace. I don't think Peak has the cardio to go 15 minutes. I know he had a really good knockout in his last fight of Khamzat, which is what really ultimately propelled him to get a Contender Series shot. But I think Malik Lewis is, other than Khamzat, he's fought the better competition. I think he's the better fighter all around, and I think he gets the job done here as a minus 195 favorite. All right. Moving on to the middleweight division, we have a fight between Ikram Aliskarov and Souza. Right now, Souza, he is a plus 440 underdog, and the comeback on Aliskarov is a minus 580 favorite. Souza making his third and possibly final appearance on the Contender Series. Unfortunately, he didn't get his contract after his first win. Comes the second win against Chidi Njokwani. He lost that one, and now he's back. I mean, granted, the UFC likes him, they like his style, but man, they're not giving him easy matchups. This is arguably one of the toughest matchups of the entire season because Aliskarov is legit can be. This dude is his grappling, obviously coming from Dagestan. He's a Russian fighter. He's got that combat sambo grappling background. He's looked absolutely phenomenal. He's in phenomenal shape. He's fought good competition over, in other organizations. Like he's fought for Eagle FC. He's fought for Brave. And his only loss is, guess to who? Khamzat Chimaev, and he was looking good early on. But since then, he's gone 4-0 with 3 finishes. Majority of his wins have come by, submission or ground and pound. Obviously, we're going to get from him. He's going to take you down and absolutely maul you, and I expect more of the same. I know Souza is probably a little bit better of a striker just because he's long and rangy, but as far as technical abilities, I think Aliskarov is the better striker of the two. I think he's honestly the better fighter all around in the striking and the grappling, the ground and pound, the submissions, everything. Aliskarov should run through Souza here, possibly get him out of there inside round 1. I would like to take the under if there is an under. The under, no, there is no under. Right now, the fight doesn't go to decision at -300. I really expect that. Aliskarov by knockout plus 155. Aliskarov, I like the Aliskarov by submission at plus 200. I think Aliskarov is probably the best submission threat that he's faced and that Souza has faced, and possibly he can get the rear naked choke or maybe even a guillotine, something like that. But yeah, I think Aliskarov all day in this matchup. It's gonna be a good one. All right, next up, we got a fight in the bantamweight division between Farid Basharat and Alan Bagosa. Right now, Basharat -295 favorite. The comeback on Bagosa plus 245. It sucks for Basharat because he had such a give me cake matchup in his first Contender Series appearance that he was supposed to have, but Willie and Souza completely missed weight by like almost 10 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. So unfortunately, they had to push it back a few weeks, and now he gets a much more difficult matchup. I think honestly, this would be a much better fight overall because Bagosa is actually a pretty good prospect in his own right. He's 7-1-1. He's got some really good striking, some really good power. He's fought some decent competition outside of, the UFC. Let's see who he's fought. He's fought some pretty decent competition. He's fought for LFA in his last fight. He fought Richard Palencia, who's a veteran in the sport. He's fought for LFA in his last 4 fights, so he's fighting in very good organizations. So coming in, he's got what it takes to possibly cause an upset here. Especially he's got some good grappling skills. He's got guillotine chokes. He's got heel hooks, multiple guillotine chokes, and he's got power on his feet as well. So Basharat, I do believe is the better fighter. He's more well-rounded. I think he's got better movement on the feet to get away from the power shots. Bagosa, I do think he's a better wrestler and better grappler as well. I do think there are going to be some chances for Bagosa possibly to catch him in a guillotine or another type of submission. He's good off his back. So we'll see what happens there. It's going to be a good fight. I'm really looking forward to Basharat. And then the funny thing is his brother is actually fighting this weekend against Tony Gravely. So I'm looking forward to both these guys. These two would be another sibling pair in the UFC if Basharat potentially gets a contract. So that's another good storyline for the UFC. Another brother pairing in the UFC. But ultimately, I think Basharat gets to win. I don't think it's priced at -295, but I don't think he gets to finish. I think he wins via decision. I think he gets a decision win, which is plus 160. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna get the finish. I like that plus 160 there. And the fight does go to decisions -160, plus 130 on the fight goes to a decision, but ultimately I got Basharat getting the win, getting the dub, and possibly getting a contract. If I want to go and predict who I think gets contracts, it would probably be Basharat, Aliskarov. depends on what Bruno Brazil really brings to the table. If she's just like an all out striker, really comes forward and puts the pace and puts some hurting on man and possibly gets her out of there, she'll probably get a contract. And I think Brandon Lewis gets a contract too. I think we might see 3 to 4 contracts. I know Basharat and Aliskarov are certain to get contracts. But as far as the other three, I'm looking forward to Lewis and possibly Brazil getting contracts in the UFC, because Brazil, she's super tall for the division at 115 pounds, 5'6", really tall and really lanky. He got some really good striking. I think she'd be a good addition. And Lewis is just super tough as nails, and he's going to bring toughness and grit and just you love that type of fighter in the UFC, and Dana White does too. So with that said, that's my Contender Series Week 8 breakdown. A little short, a little sweet for you guys. A little bit of insight to make some money, to place some bets, and cash out on a Tuesday night, September 13th. But before I let you guys go, please head over to the VegasOdds YouTube channel. Give this video a like and subscribe, and we will be back next week for more money. You're at it.